Hey guys, welcome back to Still Single, hosted by Rob Moore, Jordan Kahana, and Alex Weber. We just ate some honey. How was that honey?
Dude, I love... So, sometimes I'll do this. Just honey packets. Or even, like, you know, if you go to a diner and they got those, like, jams or jellies? Bro, I will...
Yeah, like in the little glass jars?
Yeah, oh, that's if it's upscale. But or even, like, little plastic, little tubs.
Like the Smuckers, like plastic cups? You'll just eat those? Dude,
What are your
that's like-
go-tos?
My daughter
If they
doesn't
have
even eat
grapes,
those.
well, turn her on to it. Grape would be... Honestly, though, an orange marmalade if you're in the mood. But you're right.
So you just go to diners and just like eat the jam on the table?
I don't, like, I'll get other things, too. But I'll take a spoon. Yeah, man, it's delicious.
Wow. What's like the most amount of jams you've eaten in a sitting?
Oh, I don't know. No, you don't. You can't. If you're going past 7, you gotta, order a coffee.
7 jams? What?
They're small. They're small. You guys, is there something like a little weird that you guys just eat as a little pick me up?
I mean, I guess like butter.
Like
I'll eat
comfort foods?
No,
Wait, you would just eat like the packet of butter?
No, I'm not going to eat just the packet of butter. I'm going to dip it in bread or something, like use bread. But Alex is talking about just eating straight up marmalade from the table.
Yes.
You know, that made me think of what's the Moulin Rouge song back in the day with
Lady
like
Marmalade.
Gwen Stefani. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Also, Alex, I was eating grapes yesterday. Made me think of you.
Thanks, bro. That means a lot.
That
color?
music
What
video.
Purple grapes.
Okay. Go ahead, Rob.
What about that music video?
that music video, honestly, was so hot. The Moulin Rouge. It was like all the women were in just incredible get-ups, lingerie, and they were just bopping around.
The song's a bop.
You know what's interesting? Let's hop into this.
Where are we at,
I know.
guys? Should we
Hold on. I
stop?
think this is an interesting one because I want to do the once around. But you made me think about like, I don't know. I remember when I was in like middle school, I would see like a photo in a magazine, and I'd be like, "That is the sexiest, hottest thing." And I do think about that sometimes now. Of like, like if you're in middle school. If you're like a little savvy or you've got parents who are not all, on parental controls or whatever, you have all of the internet at your fingertips as your like brain is molding what is sexy, what is hot, what is attractive. And like, I don't know, that is bonkers.
I remember.
Raise your hand if you ruined a computer using LimeWire.
Oh yeah, definitely ruined multiple computers using LimeWire. I mean, I remember we would, we're talking 7th grade. We would go on AOL, like AIM, and somehow end up in chat rooms. And they would be talking about like age, sex, location. Did you guys do this? And
ASL.
pretend like,
Yeah,
I'm an
you just jump in and
18-year-old in Florida. Like, ooh boy, here we go. What was that?
And you
My
just
dad
believe
horny
them
little kids.
also.
My dad walked in the room one time and I tried to like be cool and show off one time. And so I told someone in the chat, I go, "Don't be a prune." And I think I was trying to say prude. But...
Well, I have even a better one. I was talking so my brother was 2 grades above me, and I was AIMing or messaging with a girl in his grade, and she kept saying JK, and I thought she was saying my initials. So I remember calling out to my brother, being like, "Jake, what's Nicole's last name?" And so I was responding back with ND, not realizing that she was saying "just kidding" the whole time, not actually. That's my
Middle school
that's my story.
In high school, those were, oh my gosh, those were brutal. I remember I was in freshman year and I was good at hockey, so I was on the varsity hockey team, and we had our statistician was this like really pretty junior girl. I won't say her name, but it rhymes with Jill Tat. Her name was Jill Tat, and it was my first. I got invited to a high school party. I was a freshman, and I went, and we like went off onto like this. It was like a house party, and there was like a side like room, sunroom or whatever, and we went there and we like kissed for like a long time, like 30 minutes of like, do you know when you first started like kissing? Like, I didn't know what it was, so I didn't know you could take breaks. Like, I thought you just like kept going, and I was like so excited. It was my first like real make out, and she was a junior, I was a freshman. So pumped. I thought I was the man, and then like 2 days later in school, I heard that she'd told everyone that I was the worst kisser on the planet.
Chill.
Oh no,
That sucks.
Middle school and high school's tough. I don't know, man. I was a sad.
Can I ask you guys a question? So I went on a date the other day, and we were talking about our first kiss. But I brought up the question of, do you categorize your first kiss with tongue or without tongue?
I'm gonna go with tongue. I think it's like the first like make out kiss.
Correct. That's what I was thinking too.
That is the correct answer.
But there's no correct answer. But once again, this goes back to the etiquette that I have of just like, how do you guys feel about this? Alex, what do you think?
For your first kiss?
My
first kiss was such a nightmare. Well, go ahead, Rob.
What was
Rob's
your
going
first
through
kiss?
something
Why was it a nightmare?
Why is
honest.
kissing such a struggle going on right now?
Listen, I'm
Jill Tad
good.
and-
I'll kiss anybody right now. I'll kiss both of you and prove it. All right, we're back.
You go to the hotel lobby and just kiss like the clerk.
Instead of free compliments, it's just free kisses and just go.
It is funny though. Like everyone, I was gonna say everyone does it differently, but that's a whole rabbit hole. Let's do the check-in. You're right. Let's do the check-in.
Hey guys, welcome back to Still Single. We're just happy to be here, and we're gonna start the episode with just a quick check-in, just around the horn with the three of us. This Still Single besties. Jordan, can you kick us off today?
Of course. I'm still single. I do. Yeah, things have been going really well. I haven't done much work on my goal, but I've thought about it a lot. So that's what I'm going to be working on this week, of putting together that presentation. The dating apps have been not as intense this time around, which I'm pretty grateful for, and have a few dates lined up and have gone on a few dates. And
Nice.
have enjoyed my connections with the people. It's a new moon, and the new moon's in Libra, so that's building these relationships and connections, so I'm told. And so I've just been kind of leaning into that, and that's where I'm at.
Would you say, is that dating? Like you're dating? Mm-hmm. Is that what that's what we call that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
You're in the throes of dating. You're dating. You're on apps. You're going on dates.
Correct. I will say that Bumble in Denver is a pretty dry land. Hinge has been the majority of my connections and people that I've been connecting with and talking to and just like getting matches on. Granted, like the idea of just like swiping is way more taxing at this point, as opposed to just like the calmness of like looking at someone's profile and just being like, do I or do I not, and actually getting a limited amount of likes.
Hinge did that well, because there is something very like empress about like swipe, like get out of like, to like an entire human being, you're just like, you don't exist, or like I approve.
Well, I
it's
also
a very
think the
intense
swipe
motion.
is so fast that it's like for a man's brain, it's like, will I sleep with her or not?
Right, very emperor, empress, like thumbs up, thumbs down, literally immediately. And the amount of times that you just start going one direction or the other, and usually it's no, just if you're like trying to be intentional. How are you guys? Or are we just doing me and then going on to something else as we
what
always
do? You think about
just,
religion and
throwing it out
politics,
there?
Jordan?
Well, I think if you, so I think if you drink the Kool-Aid too much on any subject, it's a little extreme.
Yeah, too much
So
Kool-Aid. Yeah, it'll get you going.
How are
I'll
you,
go
Rob? How
next.
you doing? Yeah, go ahead.
I'll share. It's I think okay. So No Date September lasted 13 days. Then I fell off the wagon hard, and then I got back on last week. Thanks to you two, by the way. And I have to say that it's really tough for me not to be dating. It's just really hard. I yeah, go ahead.
I want to unpack the
Lebs.
why. No, because I'm because we all talk a lot. And I want to. So why is it tough?
Okay. I think I have, since losing Noelle, it's just like I have like empty bed syndrome or something where it's just like every night I go to bed and alone, and every morning I wake up alone, and it feels like I'm losing. It feels like I've lost. And when you wake up and go to sleep feeling like you've lost, which I have, it just sets up the whole system of thought, where I'm almost starting at like a -6 and trying to climb my way up to like a 3 or 4 to get through the day, if that makes sense. And then I go, oh, well, this would be better if I had a partner in crime, which I think it would. But I'm challenging myself to like train those muscles on my own.
But it goes back to being able to like wake up and look in the mirror throughout the day of just reminding yourself like you are enough. I know you like have gone through, losing Noelle and having that in your mindset every time you wake up or dealing with that with the empty bed syndrome. But I don't know, it bums me out to hear that you're like thinking that you're at a -6 and that you're not enough.
I know. I'm actively like figuring out tools to like be like, okay, dude, like, no, you're great. You're great. You're doing
Well,
fine.
I want to go into that though, because like I have little Robbie notes here, because like the words that we use are very. I was in therapy a lot, and I this was my big takeaway is like the words we use are very informative of how we feel. So you said you're losing, which means that there's a game, and so I'm curious. Every game has rules. So basically, in the rules of this game of life, if you don't have someone in that bed, that means you're losing. So that's like an interesting, like, are those rules necessarily right? And the other thing you said was that you did go through loss, man, but that doesn't mean that you are losing or you've lost. You just experienced a loss.
Poppy coming with notes. I love this. I'm so happy. This warms my heart so much.
First of all, I think the way you're framing it is really mature and really intelligent. My brain doesn't frame it that way, and I appreciate that framing. Instead, I think I default to a victimization and victimhood, and I wake up thinking, why did God curse me and take away, my soulmate? And that can lead into a spiraling of just negative thought. And it takes active mental gymnastics for me to go, okay, yes, that did happen. And just like you said, framing it as a loss, not that I'm losing. One is kind of like it's an experience, and losing is more of like an active day-to-day thing, which I don't think is healthy. But yeah, so that's where I'm at.
You're a winner.
I appreciate that. I feel, there are several platforms that I feel like I'm winning at. And I think my daughter is just a wonderful example of just like how we're doing. I will say that in this period of no dating apps, no dates, it's like I'm kind of in this, all right, man, just embrace like singledom. You can do whatever you want. As long as your daughter's okay, like you can pretty much do whatever you want. And it's kind of nice. It's kind of freeing. It's a little scary, but it's also something new. It's a new experience.
I mean, it's an interesting, like, thought of just going into the games, and it's basically like, how do you measure success? So it's interesting, the rules of winning or losing, because one of them is, maybe it is like a classic family, maybe one is popularity or reputation or impression, maybe one is financial or career milestones or how nice your house is. It's just interesting, because we all have slightly different rules.
But the thing that comes out to me that I think about a lot is actually a line from Parks and Rec, where they go on a speed date. It was an episode where they go on speed dating, and she goes, dating is a zero-sum game. If you get that guy, I don't get that guy. Like, it's kind of needing to be like a little ruthless or like cutthroat a little bit when it comes to that, but are also at the same time, like we're talking about gamifying it a little bit, is that like, if you don't put yourself out there, if you're not, even as the game calls it, like you have to risk losing the girl to get the girl, like there's, yeah, it's, you either get that person or they end up with someone else. And so I can see how, not to gamify it to like be playful, but also just in your head of being like, hey, I need to put myself out there, and if I'm interested in someone, to capitalize on that.
And I feel like I'm doing that. I think as we said in previous episodes, like the dating apps sometimes feel like seeking, and we're all about like attracting and like growing in ourselves and then attracting the right person. And I have noticed in this new season of life, with starting the podcast and TikTok and all that good stuff, is just like more attraction of women and energy that understand who I am and understand kind of the big picture of who I am. And then just to wrap up my little, how are you doing? This time of year is extremely difficult. This is just like the time of year that Noel passed. It's just a very intense, melancholy time, and it's gotten easier year over year, but it's just, I would be lying to you if I was just like saying like everything's fucking great. It's just not. It's a tough time of year.
It is. And if you listen to the last episode where Rob, you kind of said a little more of all of the kind of occurrences that tended to just be in September and at this end, and I know the 30th is our mile marker for our goals and also Noel's passing, but sounded like you were crushing on the film script.
I was up till like 1 a.m. last night, banged out 45 pages of the script. So
let's go.
We're halfway
and so
there.
So going into this, okay, so we're still going to power through, even though so no dating apps, even though you're like feeling like you would like to be dating or like making connections, you're still going to hold through for another 3 days. Like, yes. And then is it like October 1st, like New Year's, like we're just flipping the switch? And
so I'm going to a concert Saturday night. I'm going to see Jack Johnson at the Hollywood Bowl.
Nice. Look at you.
Yes.
All these
yeah,
banana pancakes.
I'm going with Evan Paley, our boy.
Wow.
Nice. Love that.
It's going to be fun. So that I'm very excited about. And for some reason I'm like, okay, Bobby's going out. He's going to the Hollywood Bowl. There's going to be babes on babes on babes at Jack Johnson. Lake Street Dive is opening for them.
They're
Jack.
great.
So they're amazing. So I have a feeling it's just going to be fun. It's going to be awesome.
Have fun.
And if it's not the best night ever, I'm going to lose it.
Sometimes when I go to shows, I don't know if this happens to you, Jordan, I feel like you're better at this and being present and just like dancing and having fun. I can get super in my head at shows. Like really like contemplative of my own life, like reflective, sometimes like, and it's gotten to the point where I don't really go to live music because unless I like know the band and I'm like rocking with them, I can just,
have a bad trip. Like every time.
Alex was so out on Rufus last summer. It was so obvious. He was just
Find
like,
me never.
Honestly, that show was not great, and for the price that we paid for those tickets, but that's a whole different thing.
There was
but
also dynamics in that group. That
that's also why it was not great.
Miss me.
So speaking of needing to have the best night ever, wasn't that the last episode you were at the wedding? So can you fill us in on, How
Tell us
are
where
you?
you're at.
How'd that
wedding,
go?
the wedding
Yeah.
was not
And
the
then
best night
since-
ever, but I knew it wasn't going to be. I mean, listen, sobriety is what it is, but there's like it's really okay in like normal life. And I can only speak from my own journey, but when you go to events that are so geared towards let's get a drink, what are you drinking, why aren't you drinking, let's get another one, it's like because it's not good for me, I'll do things I regret. So it's like there's like a 3 hour, I mean, these people are like, it was beautiful, but it was like a comical like 3 hour cocktail reception. I'm just like, this is a lot of time for cocktails. Like, I'm being a good sport, but this is a lot of time. I genuinely had fun later in the night when everyone was in the in between, when people were kind of dancing but like still drinking, and you had to be kind of like, it was still like, I don't know, when we crossed over to the like after dinner and everyone, I don't know, this happens at some weddings, it's just great, everyone's just like, we're gonna dance our face off. And you better dance goofy, you better dance silly, you better dance stupid. It's like once we hard pressed through the we're all being silly and stupid, then it was great because I didn't need to be drunk. We were all just being, wackadoos, and it was great. And I genuinely had fun for those 2 hours.
Can I give a shout out to both of you guys on that for both being like sober and going through the AA programming? But the thing is that most people don't have the personalities to do that sober. And that's why people need those 3 hours of lubrication to like lose their, like have that confidence boost or the lack of perception of just being like, okay, I can now dance goofy, as opposed to, I think the three of us, but especially you two guys, like of just being like, this is me. I'm fun. I'm like, I can do this.
Felt it.
So know that.
I appreciate it. I mean, in the middle part, I'll just like, I can like, we all are different, like, but like us three, like we can like speak in front of people, or we can do videos, and there's certain things that don't really make us nervous, or they do, we're like, we're going to do it. Like for some reason, dancing and karaoke are like paralysis of fear I have. Like, I'm not kidding with you. Like, worst fears on this planet. Like, I was at an event and they were like, we might go do karaoke, and I literally felt my like lizard innards be like, like, no, I'm not doing that. So anyways, I say at the wedding, when it was just like in between like appetizers and dinner and people were dancing, I did it, but I was super self-conscious. It kind of took me till later when, I'll be honest, I think everybody was just like, we're going to goofy dance. So I was like, yes, nice. Anyways, but the wedding was good.
Was that your first sober wedding?
I've been to a few things. That was my first sober wedding. Yeah. It was kind of surreal, actually, to leave it and drive home.
I remember my first sober wedding. Yeah, right, and not like face down in a ditch somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember my first sober wedding, and I had all the similar emotions. There was parts where I was just so salty, and I'm like, everybody gets to have champagne and not me.
Yeah.
And it's like, how am I going to dance? How am I going to have fun? And now I've had maybe like 5 or 6 sober weddings, and it's just like, I don't know. You can tap into it. It's like a muscle.
I do need to find fun, though. We've talked about this. This is fun to me. I'm having fun with you guys. But Rob and I have talked a lot about this because Rob's on the sober journey, and Jordan's not. But Jordan doesn't have you've always been good with it. Like, you always like manage it, and you're not. Anyways,
unless he's
but I do need to
drinking
find
with us.
fun.
Unless I'm with you, I'm with you guys. And then, should we talk about Halloween? We'll save that for the Halloween episode.
Yeah, we should, because we've had 2 Halloweens together now.
Right, but the first one was extreme drinking, and then the second one was when you were both sober, and
which was more fun.
I'd say the second one. I think we were all in a better place on the second one.
You know what was the most fun?
I think it was cool because we were sharing a hotel with each other. That's too. True. So I think that element was
nice.
Getting
one
ready
bed
and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm sorry, do you have twin beds
for
here?
The 3 of us.
So, Alex, I mean, you survived the
Yeah.
wedding, and you're saying like you still want to have fun or like find your fun. I feel you, man. I really do. I feel that need for like just release, and I get it. I get it. Sometimes when we record these podcasts and just kind of that performance element, it kind of gives me that high. Other than that, it's hard. You're relearning how to have fun.
Yeah. Do we like that content about the our first kisses, or is that wash?
No, that's great.
I think it's good. I'm sad that she said that she like talked about you publicly and was like, "You're a bad kisser."
It was just so scarring because I was a freshman in high school, where you're like, that's a big deal.
It means so much back then.
And Rob, are you dating apps or no?
No dating apps right now.
Okay.
I am purely alone.
I will say it is interesting to be doing this podcast in real time while you're dating, because I went on a date recently and I got in the girl's car and her phone clicked into the Bluetooth, and I heard my voice talking, and she was listening to the podcast. And I was just like, oh, hey, okay. What do you think? It's just, we've talked about it before, and I think even in my check-in, I was like, do I need to like pause and question what I'm saying a little bit, or because I think what's important is us just being as truthful and vulnerable to who we are and what we're doing, and learning from that ultimately. So it's definitely a unique thing that has brought a new complication when it comes to dating.
Yeah.
I mean, Rob, have you experienced this at all? Like, is this
100%. I mean, I dated somebody over the summer and she was listening to the episodes and I had to be like, hey, by the way, I mentioned this and I mentioned that. And it makes it a little bit challenging, but overall, I think what we're doing here, we're building this kind of safe space for people to listen in and connect and go, yeah, it's fucking intense being single. It's challenging dating right now. And I think the three of us are also, we're in good places, but we're kind of exhausted. Maybe like we're all just like a bit emotionally drained, or I know I am. And sometimes it, would be nice to just have like a partner to lean on and let just share in my frustration with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Of course. I think we're trying to fill that void for the three of us.
Other.
Right?
Dude, Rob might have coined something, EBS, empty bed syndrome.
Dude, empty bed syndrome is so real. And I have a lot of like widowers and widows that follow me on TikTok, and like people that have been married for 15, 20 years that like they lose a spouse and they really feel it. And you can feel that too. They say like after a breakup, like you miss just like having like the pings and the text messages from your partner. Like that is a loss that your body has to get used to. So it's,
well, that's a question that always gets brought up when someone's going through a breakup is, do you miss that person or do you miss the idea of that person? Like you miss the attention, you miss having that confidant, you miss like waking up next to them or going to sleep with them, but sometimes it's just not that person and you just want to fill that void. And once again, it goes back to like knowing that you are enough. Ultimately, like your happiness, who you are, what you're doing needs to be fulfilled. And at the same time, like heartbreak is real.
I remember so it was just a very special life world thing. Like I got introduced to this man, Dr. Henry Cloud, he's one of the biggest relationship authors on the planet. And I was so nervous to like go into a breakfast meeting with him and business. And I was going through a breakup at the time. So he was so cool. We talked about quote unquote business for like 3 minutes. And then he just like was an awesome guy as I was going through a breakup for like an hour. And that was just like so cool. But one thing that he'd said, which has always stuck with me, is like all those wonderful things are true and wonderful, But the hard things or the stuff that wasn't great or the stuff of why you broke up, like, they're a whole human. So you can't just take the good. You have to take the good and the quote unquote not good. So that's just helped me sometimes if I go too far in the fantasy land of super idealizing them or just focusing on the wonderful things. It's like, well, those were wonderful, but they're a full human and we also butted heads on these things.
I'm still going through the whole, do I reach out to my ex or not? I know you guys feel...
It seems like a good idea, man, because it keeps coming up. And Jordan and I think every time we're like, dude, just send it. Just call her. Maybe just show up at the place.
The sarcasm is palpable. It is interesting, too, talking about... It made me think, going back, that you had that meeting. Don't reach out to her. Don't.
I'm not.
Okay. But there's a new prompt that came up on Hinge recently that talks about, that isn't just like, it's a more specified, what are you looking for in dating? And there's options of like, I'm looking for long term but open to short term, looking for short term but opening for long term, and they can like apply a quote as well into it, or, you know, not really sure, figuring my dating goals out and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, it goes back, like, I just don't think people have a good understanding about what a short-term relationship is, like cuffing season, being cool, of being like, hey, for the next 4 months, this is like right for us, and amicable. Help me out here. What am I saying here?
Amicably.
Amicably.
Yeah,
Is that right?
There you go. That was
Amicable.
that
Thank
was
you.
Smooth. Amicably.
Amicably. No, man, I can't do this. I'm stuck. Anyways, to end the relationship in a positive manner of just being like, hey, that was a good season of life, or extending it, and it does go for a long term. But yeah, that's just what came into my head. I don't know. I just don't feel like societally, especially as I listen to more and more of the truth as he explores the polyamory stuff and the non-monogamy and all this exploration, it just brings a lot of different curveballs.
I feel like we need another book to balance out. Someone told me one. I got to look up what it was. It was like Conversations with Love, or I feel like we need another person's. Someone also told me there
does
were
Henry
like,
does Henry Cloud have a book?
He's got many.
Dr.
He
Cloud
would
have a
be.
book?
He would come on. I do believe he would come on our podcast as a guest when we're ready for it, and that'd be something.
That'd be huge. He could give us some pointers on like everything.
We're so alone.
Why are we so alone? Why? I just wonder, like, why is this emotion? There aren't many guys that are our age that I feel like wake up and are just like, I'm alone. Like, I'm alone. I feel like there's plenty of guys just being like, yeah, I'm single. It's fine. Like, why do us three need the validation so much from a female?
Well, I don't know if it's validation. I don't think that's it at all.
What is it then?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll be honest, I don't feel so alone. My heart is with you, man, because I feel like you feel so alone, and
That's fair.
and I'm sorry for that. And I feel like that void. I feel like it's a void more of because of the bed, and that role is there. You know, I really want to step into a season of life where I'm with a partner and I'm building a life. But my lifestyle and kind of life, whatever, isn't really, it is, I don't have like a void. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I just really, really, really want a partner in it. Maybe we get you a twin bed.
He's a king bed. It's just too big for me. It's just too much
So
space,
much
too
bed.
much empty space. I literally in the middle of the night like pulled pillows in close to me and I was just like, come here. I'm snuggling with a fucking pillow.
Got to, but that's how I fall asleep with it too. I need that snuggle. If one of my dogs isn't like sleeping and being my like cuddle buddy, like the little spoon, I throw a pillow there. Like I need it. But I don't when falling asleep. If like I have a girlfriend or I don't like falling asleep like cuddling. Like it's like cool, we'll cuddle for a little bit, and then it's like okay, I need my side, you have your side, and that's good. And that's where the king bed comes into play. I agree.
Jordan, do you feel alone or not alone?
I don't. And that goes back to the conversation that, there are times that I do feel that, but I'm not in a space where I like wake up feeling alone, because the dogs are like howling and I need to take them out. So like I have this immediate purpose when I wake up is I have this commitment to these dogs and this relationship. And if I don't get up and do this, I'm going to be cleaning up in my house versus outside. So it's interesting because, and I wonder if there's that dating element and the ego and the validation that comes into it, is that because I'm back on the dating apps and I have these connections and I've been going on dates, that my ego cup is filled right now. And I think if I break it down, when it's not, that's when I feel most alone. And so I do think that there's validation elements that are needed, and having a partner would hopefully and ultimately keep that cup filled, beyond just their general presence.
I resonate with that totally. I think of the ego cup being filled by dating apps of just matching with a pretty woman. You're just like, oh, okay, like still got it. Or you start chatting with somebody, or like you have that ego boost that just comes naturally when you feel somebody else is attracted to you.
So you're going to the concert on Saturday. I just want Rob to. I just want Robbie. That's October 1st. No.
That's October 1st. I'm telling you, I'm having a really fucking hard time. Like I'm just having a hard time in general. But I will be okay.
I mean, that's what the group chat is for, and that's what we're here for, beyond just like hitting record on this. And
Jordan and I are like,
just laugh at him.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not laughing. We're with you, man. We talk all day.
We're in
every
a good
day.
space, and yeah.
No, I know. I feel totally heard. I feel seen. It's at this place of like, dude, like stop being such a bummer. Like just get it together. And it's challenging.
No,
it's very challenging.
but I think you're not giving yourself enough patience and credit along the lines of like what your subconscious is going through right now with the timing that we're in right now. And I think for you, like dating would be somewhat of a distraction over anything else. And so this pocket of time for you is a challenge, and it's rightfully so a challenge. So let's bunker down. Let's get through this. Let's honor Noelle. Let's get that script written and honor her that much even more. And then we're going to fucking listen to some Banana Pancakes and what are some other bangers of his? I was just playing some of it on the guitar the other day. Anyways, yeah, I play guitar. What's
Bubbly
up?
Toes.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It's going to be a cute night. I mean, Evan and I are going to have fun.
Are you
Evan's
guys in
like,
the
"I'll be
pit?
No, we're like in nosebleed, but that's great because
nice.
I'll meet.
Does
somebody.
Evan
That's, like,
doesn't
the best
listen to the
place to
podcast?
be.
You and Evan have had such an interesting relationship. I'm excited for this.
So I saw Evan Sunday night. It was Rosh Hashanah dinner, and his sister Mimi and Noelle were very good friends growing up, and so Mimi and I have become close. Evan and I are close, and she invited Leia and I over for Rosh Hashanah dinner, which I thought was just really nice. It was just nice to be like with a big family for the holidays. And Evan was just sitting there, and he's just like, "Yo, bro, do you want to go to Jack Johnson Saturday night?" And I was just like, "Honestly, yes." And he's like, "Great, I got us tickets. Let's go." And it was just like, it was nice. It's going to be fun.
That's good.
I mean, Evan is a good kid. He feels like a little brother to me, which comes with the territory of just like I love him, and then sometimes you're just like, what the fuck, and that's just part of
You'll have a
having
blast.
like a little brother. Yeah, we'll
He's
have a
got
great
a
time.
sweetheart.
He's like, I'm gonna pretend to be your gay best friend, and we're gonna pick up so many chicks. And I was like, I don't even think you need to pretend to be gay, but okay.
Yeah, why does live your life, Evan? But I don't think you need to do that.
It's like, I'm gonna be so gay Saturday, and you're gonna get so laid. I'm gonna get so gay. It's just like, okay. It's kind of funny.
Wow.
So that's Saturday night, and then today's September 27th. So I am supposed to see our mutual friend Helen on Thursday, but it's not technically a date. It is she's just gonna be in the area. We're gonna get coffee.
She was looking good on the IG stories the other day. I won't lie.
She's beautiful.
I'm sure you probably like that. Yeah,
Whose
of course.
mutual
yeah.
friend is this? I'm curious. Just a backstory for everybody.
What are you talking about? It's Jordan's mutual friend.
I know, but just I feel like
Yeah.
everyone's a little out of the loop. I just feel like.
Helen is a good friend who actually the only person that I met up with on Raya. She's a photographer, and we did some shoots in LA. And then through her connections, because she's British, knew of this nonprofit, and she hooked up a project where we went to South Africa together, working with elephants at an elephant sanctuary. That was back in 2018. 2019, one of those, which was super cool. South Africa was number one on my list to travel to at the time, and so to get to do that and to hang out with elephants. And then she came back to the States, and we did some Stayamo shoots. And then when she's trying to move to the United States, so came to LA.
I joke
and,
with her that I'm like, you can marry me for a visa, and she's like, but seriously? And I'm like, yeah.
You're like, I have
That'd be
EBS.
fun. I have EBS. I have empty bed syndrome. It's better than IBS, which we all know Alex has, unfortunately.
I do.
I'm just
I
kidding.
don't, for the record. I think
Okay,
they just wanted. I think they just wanted to get out of the Helen vortex.
So it's fine. Last week we talked about Rob's favorite it's not a comedy, right? A romance movie.
I would not define The Notebook as a
Right.
rom-com. I'd say it's a romance film.
We've addressed, yes, so romance film. And so Alex presented in the chat of wanting to hit on more rom-coms and just kind of find some talking points with it. And so we did my favorite rom-com, which is Crazy Stupid Love. Alex had a lot of notes, so take us away. What do you got for us?
Well, I think there's so many. That genre, first off, is I'm excited for us to celebrate the entire Matthew McConaughey catalog of rom-coms because they are sensational. Crazy Stupid Love is not my favorite. And Jordan, I know it's your favorite. I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Pretty good. I would give it first off, I would give it coming out of the gates a 7.5 out of 10.
Wow.
Okay.
So you gave The Notebook a 6 out of 10, and you gave
If I'm rounding
Crazy
up,
Stupid Love.
if we could do fractions, it'd be in the fives. So I guess it would be like a 5.8.
You just gave a fraction, 7.5.
I know. So
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait, it's a 5.8 or it's a 7.5 for you?
No. Notebook 5.8. The Crazy Stupid Love is a 7.5. But
Just staring daggers.
it's just that movie. We done it. We did The Notebook. They were just in the writer's room, and they're like, okay, well, what else can we do that's crazy? Okay, well, now she doesn't remember anything. Okay, good. Put that in. Like, it's just, everything is so intense in that movie. Like,
It's an intense love story. That's the whole point. And her dementia is part of it's set up in Act 1. It's not like they just throw in a little dementia at the end. Hey, let's just sprinkle in some dementia just to round out this film. It's part of the whole point of The Notebook. All right, 5.8
I also don't
out of
think
10, whatever.
I don't think the older them was like a good casting. I don't think the older them like matches to what they. You know what I'm saying? Like,
What, she wasn't like hot enough for you?
no, they should have.
She wasn't like-
You know what they should have done? They should have just aged up Ryan
Gosling.
Gosling and what's her
You
name?
just love Gosling. Rachel
How can you
McAdams.
not love a Gosling? Speaking
Great
of Crazy
White
Stupid
Buffalo.
Love, so
Yeah,
White
let's.
Buffalo.
we're back. All right, well, let's give it a rating. 7.5 is my rating for Crazy Stupid Love.
I'll go. I think Crazy Stupid Love is definitely a solid rom-com. You've got Steve Carell, who's just amazing. Like, who doesn't like Steve Carell? And then you've got Ryan Gosling, who's probably the hottest version of himself imaginable. Would you say? Would you agree?
Facts, yeah.
Pretty hot, guys.
I'll say that's the best Emma Stone has looked too, especially that opening scene with her.
Yes.
That's-
in the rain, where she
That's
comes.
a hill. Yeah, that's later on, but yes, that movie and that opening scene is the best that she's looked. With Ryan Gosling also.
Well, so if people haven't seen Crazy Stupid Love, so let's bring it back a little bit. Why I thought it could be cool is there's literally Steve Carell's character in it is high school sweethearts, but then his wife cheats on him, but she also has an arc where she kind of apologizes and wants to get back together. So there's that element of like infidelity and forgiveness. And so we could talk about like, can you bounce back from that? If that did happen on either side, like, can you bounce back from it?
I think it varies from relationship to relationship. Overall, I think once trust is broken in a relationship, it is very hard to gain it back. I think it's one of those things that like once you fuck with trust, it's kind of game over for a really loving relationship. And I think that's unfortunate because sometimes somebody can just truly make a mistake, but there's so many steps that have to happen for you to be like to cheat on somebody. It's not like someone just throws their, vagina on your penis. It's like you have
That's
to
not
go.
how it works.
No, it's not like somebody falls on your lap and you're like, oh my God. Or
Have
like,
you seen those MTV ads about like wearing condoms that they're like sex doesn't happen, where like some guy is like on roller skates like coming down a hill and there's this like girl like fixing her tire or something in the car and it's like this isn't how it works. So same thing. Also, what's your rating for the movie?
Oh, my rating, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay. I'm going to say 8.3. And I'm going to say that because when I watch it, I usually fast forward through the Marissa Tomei stuff, like both of her scenes.
Why?
I just don't. I don't like awkward humor, and it feels like that's awkward humor.
Okay.
To me.
Wait, what is awkward about her?
Just her interaction with it. So like Steve Carell, like it's his first sexual experience since his wife. The interaction, she's sober as well, so the whole like bit of the game of like, hey, I'm gonna get you a drink, and she's like, no, I'm okay, and he's like, let me buy you a drink, let me guess, it's like a vodka soda, like literally he's doing the game stuff on her,
Right?
And she's just like, no, I'm actually sober, and he's like, oh great, and it gets super awkward that way. And then the next scene is at the parent teacher conference.
Yeah.
And so they're all in the room and talks about how like he couldn't get it up for 45 minutes and like so I know the scenes through and through also, but I
have such a crush on Marissa Tomei. I think she's just like an attractive.
George Costanza over here.
Yeah.
She's just attractive. Something about her energy. So Jordan, you gave it an 8.3. Alex, a 7.5. And me a 6.
I will say a dream of mine is to recreate the scene with Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling where he takes her home and then they have that whole conversation. I don't know why that's one of my favorite scenes.
Which one?
Where
which part of it?
He comes back, he makes them the Manhattans, I'm pretty sure it is. Is it an old fashioned or Manhattan?
I think it's an old fashioned.
Okay.
He's talking to two alcoholics. It looks like a delicious
an
old fashioned. Probably use Maker's Mark. Yeah.
Organic sugar.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something about it, especially because with Stayamo, like staying at really nice homes, and just there's something about that scene that I think is like playfully cute and very romantic at the same time. And I think what really stands out the older that I get and the more that I'm seeking relationship is that I like that they don't just end up sleeping together, that they're up all night talking and laughing and having a good time. And like that's like building this connection that goes beyond just this physical relationship.
Well, I was just say what's endearing about that scene as well is, so if you haven't seen the movie, he basically is just like comically attractive, comically suave, all of this. It's like very like front of house, polished, pristine image. And I think what's fun about that scene is he like lets her in too. He's like, he talks about I think it was his father passed or and how he like buys things off like Sharper Image or whatever it is, like, like the comical like order from a mail catalog stuff. And so it was just like he stopped being the presentational, which we've talked about, and was just like letting into the authentic self. 1 second, this is housekeeping.
Is housekeeping?
I gotta go.
Good. I'm glad I'm not the only one that has someone interrupting. But what I think about is when they're having that conversation and he turns to her and he's like, can you do me a kindness? Can you like ask me a serious question? Can you ask this deep question? And so she asks like, what's your mother like? And he goes into that. So like Alex is saying, there's that depth that comes about.
I will say the movie does a good job of balancing between like some slapstick humor rom-com moments with like a little bit, deeper threads, deeper themes. Like even with like the son, the son, obviously he has his love interest of the older girl who babysits him. But then there's, what's his name? Lindhagen? Is that the guy that the
David
mom
Lindhagen.
sleeps with? David Lindhagen.
Kevin Bacon.
There's that scene where like the son is sitting in the office and like meets Lindhagen and is just like, fuck you, dude. Like, I know you're fucking my mom and I know that you like fucked up my parents' relationship. And like, I don't know. It definitely deals with an array of themes, which I appreciate. Maybe 6 out of 10 is a little harsh. Alex, would you reconsider your notebook
What if
rating?
one of the characters got dementia? Do you think it would?
Would you if I reconsider my crazy stupid love rating, would you reconsider your notebook rating?
No, it's a 5.8, man. That movie's trash.
It's just so bad. I mean,
A-Dubs is popping off and popping back on. You all keep going, talk amongst yourselves.
where are you going? Where do you have to go?
I'm out of the hotel room like now.
Oh, you're getting kicked out of your hotel room like right
Yeah,
now?
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Like hard kick out. Yeah.
Like, is that who just came to the door?
like I'm looking at the housekeepers. Like,
Oh,
Did you not call for an extension or anything?
no, this is with the extension. This is with the extension.
Oh my god.
that's why you had a hard start. Okay.
Yeah. But I'll read you.
This has
Keep
been an
talking amongst
interesting
yourself.
episode. I think we, cuffing season
amongst yourselves.
it's a tough time. We're talking. I mean, it's a podcast with
He's
three
gone.
of us, and
He's
now
out.
it's just Jordan and I. I have to say this has been for me the most uncomfortable episode we've recorded thus far, and I'm not sure why.
I think there's elements of me too, because like why see so it's a little frustrating of like me being publicly talking about dating and I'm finding that I'm interested in like one person more than the other, but knowing that they like listen to the podcast and being like, can I talk like publicly that I'm doing that, and how much more I don't know. And at the same time, just seeing how society loves to watch The Bachelor and Bachelorette and watch people date 25 people at once, and they're like acceptable about that. But if I'm like, hey, I've gone on 2 dates with this person and things are good, but I'm also planning other dates, like, I just said it, like, okay, it's out there. Like,
I guess, I mean, I obviously want to attract a woman that like accepts me in all my ways, but like I don't want to be like publicly sharing about our relationship, I guess. And God, it just, I don't know, man. I'm in a place, but that's okay. I'll get through it, and I
But yeah,
appreciate you
'cause-
guys giving me grace.
yeah, man, it is a weird time, and I think you're not acknowledging like the subconscious that comes with it. And even for me yesterday, having the idea of like, hey, rate my Hinge profile, and having
Right.
that hesitation of being like, man, am I going to be this public about? I mean, we have a podcast about being single, and so I think if we can be more comfortable about just talking about our, and not about like the dates that we're going on, but just like where we're at in the experience, and to acknowledge, because the whole point of this podcast isn't, hey, we've never had a relationship before, we don't know how to get dates. And so I think
Right.
there's a value of like, hey, dating's a challenge, here we are going through it, and it's a bit of a numbers game that you have to play and go through some bad dates and have some good dates, and have those good dates end, whether you get ghosted or just they don't feel the same way that you do, or you don't feel the same way about they do, the way that you, yeah. So I think just the more that we're just comfortable in leaning into this, but I agree with you. There's some sort of, I think there's something about recording earlier in the week. Like we need to like settle into the week a little bit. I think a Wednesday,
Yeah.
Thursday recording is this like Tuesday, or like an hour earlier than we're used to. Also, just like,
We're just
just
like
don't think
getting our
enough is-
bearings.
yeah, I don't think enough has happened in the week for us, and just like thinking about what we actually want to talk about on the podcast.
Well, I mean, I know we're learning what works and what doesn't work. And to our listeners, like, we appreciate you coming along for the ride with us. It's definitely a growing experience for all three of us. And I will just say that, we appreciate you guys supporting us as we navigate. We also hear you and see your questions. And
your mom did respond to one of the stories that I put out about flirting in 2022, where it's liked your tweet, and then there's a photo of them like hooking up. And your mom's like, "This is the problem, not the solution." Wish young men and women would listen to us old folks who know jumping in the sack right away never ever works. Shout out your mom. And I only knew that because you responded back where you're like, "Thanks, Mom. Love you."
Our highest engagement is from Jordan and my mom, and probably Alex's dad. All right, well, this has been an interesting episode. If you've made it this far, you've realized that Alex has left the building. He got kicked out of his hotel room, and then Jordan and I are just kind of finishing up the episode now. But we'll be back next week with, an October update, and you guys will know where we're at. And I'll let you know how Jack Johnson goes.
Right on. Love you, man. Stay strong.
Love you, dude. Peace.